If all the world is a stage, then for a few short weeks in the spring of 2016, we turned our attention to a small vignette centered around the garden fountain just outside our window. Here, quiet patience is rewarded with intimate glimpses of life among the local hummingbirds. I've always had a keen fascination with hummingbirds, if for no other reason than they're so remarkably unusual. Their wings beat impossibly fast, up to 70 times a second. They're credited with being the only birds that can fly backwards, and they fuel their athletic endeavors by consuming half their body weight a day in sugary nectar, something I often dream about. But beneath these facts and figures are more compelling truths. They're stunningly beautiful in their emerald green cloaks, trimmed in white tails and black ties. The males sport ruby red heads and throats. As a mark of his emerging manhood, this young male is just beginning to get his first patch of red under his chin. With such splendid finery, they take great care with their bathing, and it seems that this is one of the main attractions of our garden. Here, the fountain's cool, clear waters are not only sought out, but also jealously guarded. Most of the vistas from the window are of these goings-on, usually from just after sunrise until late into the morning when the nectar hunting is in full swing. It was early one morning when we first noticed a small cup-shaped nest being completed by one of the resident females. She'd been diligently patrolling under the eaves of our home, gathering spider webs for days. These she mixed with other fibers into a nest that was both strong and lightweight. She placed it near the end of a very small branch to discourage any climbing predators, and she lined it with fluffy white fibers collected from flowering dandelions. These she placed with great care in the bottom of the nest, and then worked them into the spider webs with diligent stamping of her tiny feet. With the nest complete, a period of many days passed, with the expectant mother sitting quietly on the nest. The nest was designed to be just large enough to snugly fit 2 very small jelly bean-sized eggs. An added benefit of the spiderweb substructure was that the nest would expand to tightly fit the brooding mother and then close around the eggs to keep them warm as she was out feeding. After about 2 weeks of waiting, we were greeted one morning with the sight of 2 small swords being wielded from within the nest. Apparently, there were 2 successful hatchlings for the new mother to attend to. Over the coming weeks, many trips were made to the surrounding gardens to gather food for the rapidly growing chicks. It was a true Herculean effort for the single mother to gather the food necessary to feed the 2 growing babies as well as herself. But she was clearly up to the task with unwavering vigor, and she continued the nearly constant feeding for about 3.5 weeks. Then one morning there was much excitement. The older of the 2 chicks was ready to test its flight capabilities. This is another amazing capacity of hummingbirds, because unlike other species, they have to get it right the first time. Imagine if you had to learn to fly the way a hummingbird does. With no prior flight experience, just jump, not into a glider or airplane, but into a helicopter, and take to the skies on your very first try. What you can't see in this shot is that the mom is just to the right of the nest, hovering expectantly. She has confidence that as her baby's rapidly strengthening wings feel their true power, that the instincts of flight will take over. And suddenly, I'm not a dispassionate observer sitting behind the camera. I'm a parent, with my heart in my ruby red throat. And I'm reliving one of my most precious experiences, seeing my child's first flight. And it's a stunningly magnificent moment. This first flight is only about 10 feet, but the pride of making the first flight, and the first landing, is unmistakable. Back at the nest, the other chick is considering its options. Of course, seeing its sibling so clearly loving its newfound freedom is a great enticement. Mom again provides snacks and lots of encouragement. This little guy seems a bit less sure of the whole affair. But with the patient persistence of Mom, the first flight was an inevitable success as well. Looking out on the main stage of the fountain, the preening, bathing, and jousting of the hummingbirds continued. And as we watched this world, now expanded by 2 more, we could not help but think of our own 2 fledglings. All those times cuddled in our cozy nest, preparing for their first flight. Standing on the edge of a mountain trail, with mouths open for a drink of cool spring water. Magnificent cloaks sprouting and catching the rays of the warm morning sun. And always preparing for the first flight. And then, seemingly just as quickly as the hummingbird chicks, they were up on the edge of the nest, wings aflutter and a sparkle in their eyes. Then suddenly, they were out in the bright sunshine of the big world, able to dash and dart about with joyous revelry and confidence, not in their mastered experience, but in their knowledge that they had within them all the instincts and capabilities they would need to soar well beyond the confines of any garden's fountain.